When I looked at the radar last Friday, I was struck by how little precipitation covered the lower 48, and I wondered how unusual it was to have such a bone-dry day across nearly the entire contiguous U.S. this time of year. Now here's that radar, and it turns out that the National Weather Service was thinking the same thing, because on Saturday, Greg Carbon, chief of the Forecast Operations Branch at the Weather Prediction Center, tweeted that the 24 hours beginning at 7 a.m. Eastern Time Friday was the second driest such 24-hour period in any February of the last 15 years over the lower 48 states. Here's a look at precipitation in that 24-hour period, only a little around the edges, about as quiet as it gets. So when do really dry days like this tend to occur, and what kind of weather pattern produces them? Well, let me start with the conventional surface weather map last Friday. Now this is busier than what we typically show you. The brown lines are the isobars, lines of equal pressure. You see lots of H's, high pressure, which brings sinking air, and very little in the way of lows and fronts nationwide. Now to give you a sense for how dominant high pressure was last Friday, let me pick one high-valued isobar, in this case 1,024 millibars, and highlight it, just so you can visualize how much real estate high pressure controlled in the lower 48. Now, Greg Carbon also shared with me a list of the driest 24-hour periods over the last 15 years. I took the top 10 and averaged together the surface pressure on those days, and here's the result. So this is a composite pressure pattern for the 10 driest days in the last 15 years. Areas of orange are centers of high pressure. And now let me highlight the same isobar, 1,024 millibars, as on the map from last Friday. Take a look at that. Now let me go back to last Friday's map, and now back to the average of the 10 driest days. They're very similar. So last Friday was pretty much a classic surface pressure pattern to produce a nearly dry day nationwide. So how are those 10 driest days distributed across the year? Well, here's the breakdown by month. 3 each in January and November, 2 in February, and then 1 each in March and October. But 10 days isn't really enough to get a good feel for the distribution. So I looked at the 100 driest days, and then you can see the pattern more clearly. And it really is no surprise. The driest 24-hour periods in the lower 48 are concentrated in the cold months, when there simply tends to be less moisture in the air. In fact, 81 of the 100 driest days nationwide in the last 15 years occurred in January, February, November, or December. None occurred from May to August. Once again, I'd like to thank Greg Carbon from the Weather Prediction Center for collaborating with me on this project. More to come on really wet days in a future WeatherWise. Stay tuned. Our extended forecast is next.